Alright guys, so got some fresh, brand new hydraulic hoses in the mail this morning. This is one that we had in Fishtail. Became obsolete over there, so we're going to repurpose it here on the Emerald Isle. So you got our hydraulic tank, comes behind our crab pump, through our valves here, and into our Vickers V20 hydraulic pump. Pressurizes the fluid, comes out, up and around into our selector switch here. This way on the selector will be to deck. That goes up through this pipe here, and outways will be to anchor, which brings the line forward up through the bulkhead there and out to the anchor winch. Return flow over into this red one here, into this T, which returns to tank. And then, as mentioned before, toward us for deck flow, I'll push it up through this hose here. I can find my flashlight. Where'd it go? There it is. Half the battle is tracking down the tools I placed some weird place. Here under the sink. As I said before, pressure from selector switch out to deck. And this is return from deck back down below to the other port on that T. And now, about to start plumbing in this valve bank here. So, bring you guys for that one. Meanwhile, Dad's out here making some noise.
Making a couple goofy little brackets for our fuel vents here.
Yep. Not a permanent solution by any means, but just what we have to do right now.
Yeah, I need to pick up a couple 1/2-inch aluminum elbows, and then I'll just run this in aluminum pipe. But this is just kind of, like Matt said, a bit of a short-term solution, so that'll just get jammed in there. I gotta trim this hose down a bit, but you can kind of get the picture. It'll look like that. It'll be fine. This is just to vent our fuel tank, so as you're using fuel, it needs to be vented, otherwise it'll just pull a suction on it and eventually you won't get any fuel out of it. And also allow for expansion, contraction when it's hot and cold. Fuel expands and contracts, so you need to be able to vent it because of that too. So yeah, that's the one for this side. Nip that hose down, stuff it in there. This is going to be where our bin is for our halibut, so we'll probably just put a piece of wood across here too or something to keep those big old heads from snagging on that.
We are starting to work on our bolt downs for this aft hold. We'll probably share more of that here in a while, but for now, big thing is the hydraulics. So
yeah,
go start getting those put together, and then pretty soon we can run some fluid through the lines and see if our reel turns. Got a big pile of junk here. Almost time to start going through it, but just kind of collecting it for now. When applying, you apply the 3/4 of your threads, and usually when you close your bottle, you can like use that last bit right there too. So we just have a plug, our valve here, pull this out. And hopefully I'll be able to swing this where it's mounted. Now for thread roulette. We'll see how many turns I can get off this. Feels like it's getting tight there. You don't want to over tighten these because we have cracked the valve before. casting cracked. That was a pretty sad day. Right about there. Oh, of course there's oil in it.
Go for that again, huh?
You can tip your valve every way and think you got the last drip out, but you never do.
It could drain for a year. Still have oil in it.
Yeah.
Carefully.
I know, I hate when it's like,
You're not putting that much on it.
yeah. All right, this one's going straight down, but can still turn a little bit that way. Guess we want to arc our hoses over that way toward the bulwarks here. And this one, of course, is gonna come this way a little more if needed.
Hopefully you got our lengths right.
Yep. Think about which way. Stiff, huh?
Yeah. So I think that can come about right there.
Yeah. So we had these hoses made, taking into mind that we will put our deck down here at some point.
Yep, so they'll be about like that. So they're not really short, even though it kind of looks like it's short, but
Yep.
that doesn't.
I was gonna say, we need inch and a quarter now. We don't have an inch and a quarter open end box end.
I got 1.25 inch open end, an adjustable 1.25 inch.
Right.
You can just lift that up a little bit. It'll probably twist this. Sure enough. Snug. Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking never seas on these, but I think just paint would be
we'll
better.
just paint them.
Yeah.
Now I got a lot of guys wrap these with Denzel tape, but I've just never been a big fan of that stuff. I don't know. I've seen fittings come out of there that looked worse than ones that probably weren't painted, honestly. So I think it's just nasty, and I hate that stuff. Just my personal preference. Just prefer to paint them or not paint them, and by the time the fittings rot out, hose needs replaced anyways.
Right. Well, that looks good.
That does look good.
One down, one to go.
Yeah. Tis too
And
long.
the other side.
These aren't reversed, are they?
I don't know, running over to the other side.
Hmm?
Running over to the other one. How's it look? Oh.
I don't mean that way. I mean
I gotcha. I guess I better double check.
Yeah.
They might be.
So the top one is the pressure.
Top ones.
Or no, the top would be the return. The way it's configured.
Top is pressure.
So the top is pressure.
Yeah,
So they're backwards.
they are.
That's why this one felt a little bit tight right here.
You're
So,
not doing
perfect.
hydraulics if you're not reconnecting your lines at least once.
Well, at least we don't have oil pouring everywhere, right?
Yep. So this is a old school greasing valve bank. They're pretty simple, easy to service. Don't have any of the aluminum castings on them, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. For
do
those of
have
you
a-
that are familiar with these down south, somebody up here actually used to make stainless spools for these. And so like all of ours have stainless spools. That's probably not the case down south, where it'd just be like chrome plated steel spool, and it gets a scratch in it, and then it tears up the O-rings and they leak all over the place. These are actually pretty good units. You know, the O-rings do get kind of hard over time, but they're pretty easy to disassemble and put new O-rings in. Doesn't cost anything. Half the time they give you the O-rings for free. If they do charge you, they're like 25 cents each, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, so this is a triple valve, 2 spools, and then one, well, I guess these are rotaries, I guess. They're all spools. These are rotaries, and then one up, down. So this would be for like a winch or a ram. These are for motors, so you can control the speed on them. How they work is that down here, this little peg right, or this little deal, it's got a pin in there, and it's got a cam that's cut at a diagonal on the bottom of the spool. It just bolts into it. So that pin engages that slot that's kind of like this, so as you turn the handle, it forces the spool up or down. And then these ones, of course, are just, you're just pushing it up and down.
Okay guys, so I just pulled the spool out of this valve here. This is the spool. You can see there's a little pin hole in the bottom there. Goes in the valve like that. And then there's a little spring-loaded pin here that goes into this hole. And that little pin corresponds to this little cam here, like Dad was talking about. So when you spin your handle this way, it pushes the valve up, letting the fluid come out of this port. When you spin the valve that way, it comes out of this port, or vice versa. I always have to like kind of look at which one it actually opens up, but you get the idea. So pretty simple setup here. There's a O-ring in this top part right here, and then there's an O-ring up a little ways up and around here, and that one's the hard one to get out. Okay guys, got it all hooked up and done. Nice smooth motion on that valve handle. Very nice. So we're gonna wait till tomorrow to fill the lines, just in case anything happens. Probably nothing happened, but anyway, we'll test it up tomorrow.
Don't feel like a big catastrophic cleanup tonight if there is one.
Yeah, for sure.
Late.
So we'll bring you guys back in the morning. Hey everyone. So just puttering away down here. Dad's doing a little segment action here.
Getting ready to make a box for our steering and throttle controls at our hauling station.
Yeah. And I am actually out here working in the hauling station area. We're going to get in these last few tubes in that bolts go through the cap rail here.
You using this?
I'm done with it for the moment. So I already got the holes drilled there and there, and I'll just drill them out to this size of hole. Those will go through, get welded up. Kind of forget if I've shared that with you already, but I will share it with you again right now. Buying big drill bits, do yourself a favor and get the one with the flat faces on there. these drills don't really care for this, I don't know what you'd call that. Much nicer when they have the flat planes there for the chuck to hook onto. Though to be fair, these little Makitas probably aren't exactly the best fit for this kind of job, but that's all we got. Got it set for the arm twister, high torque, low speed. So now our piece of aluminum tube goes through there. You can see it's not got much welding surface. Even if you were to blast that with a MIG, grind it flat, it'd leave virtually nothing as far as weld goes. So what I'll do now is I'll take my burr and I'll go around this hole, giving it a nice big heavy bevel. So you compare that. We've been leaving these pieces of tube a little bit proud. Compare that to that. And you pretty much just fill that whole bevel in, getting a nice good bond. And yeah, don't worry about your piece of tube cracking out or anything like that. So do that 4 more times, and then we'll weld these tubes in. Why do I do it to myself? It's the wrong way. God.
Same reason I drilled that hole right there. In the wrong spot. Only difference is I can fill mine with aluminum and you can't. Making a vent cover. Worry about a big old halibut head getting snagged on that and tearing our fuel vent loose. That goes under the deck into a piece of copper tubing, so if that hose gets ripped off there, it's gonna be a bit of a hassle to fix. It's gonna require pulling up that board, and not really the type of thing a guy wants to do when he's out on the fishing grounds, right, Matt?
Yeah, that wouldn't be easy at all, honestly, especially if the copper pipe got bent or broke, then you'd just be, I don't even know. Guess you'd switch fuel tank and stuff a plug in there or something.
Yeah, so it's not really the ideal setup right here. We're gonna get some aluminum tube, some 1/2 inch, and we'll put it in there. We just kind of ran out of time for that, so we'll circle back to that.
That shouldn't really go anywhere. Alright, so got those holes bored out. Aside from that, got a fair bit done on the deck gear here. Didn't record it, but we put in some bin boards. This will be the halibut bin or fish bin. Same size as the one on the fishtail, slightly bigger. slightly skinnier but slightly wider. Should work pretty good. Estimate probably 650-ish pounds will fit in there, and that's a pretty decent set for us. So if we fill that on the set, we're happy. Anyways, we'll probably end up putting one over on this side. We did get our reel bolted down with 3/8 bolts down to those stanchions that we showed making. So that worked really good, just how we intended. Nice and solid on here. It's a little bit wobbly, but that's just the frame on this thing. We could kind of do with like a cross piece maybe in the back at a later point, but it's not really going anywhere. The force will be forward and back on it, not side to side.
We used to have them.
Yeah, we used to have a couple pipes.
They got cut off years ago, and we've never had any problems, so
yeah,
shouldn't be a big deal. They were in the way of our hatches, and they would also be in the way here.
We have some excess project clutter that we need to clean up. A whole coat of whatnots from inside. Been kicking around for a while. Launching table and shotgun all put together. Little rattly right now. I actually got to put the bolts in those two legs right there. They go down through the deck. We were just gonna put a little cross leg in there just to stiffen them up, since this bait table is only like an 1/8 inch thick. So put a little brace between those there. And what else? We got our buoys on.
Yeah.
Got new bridles tied for them. Nice and heavy. Blue steel. This is just some crab line that is being cycled out, so worked really good.
Yeah, it's nice and strong, and it's very, very chafe resistant, so this stuff will hold up in the long run. All painted up, got our ADF and G numbers on there. These are unique Peach Boat. Every year when you license your vessel, that's the number that you get. Stays with your vessel throughout its lifetime. It doesn't matter how many times you change owners or anything like that. That number stays with the boat. They issue it when you first start commercial fishing the vessel. Doesn't apply to like recreational guys or anything. Only commercial boats have that number. And yeah, so the license for the vessel is completely different than like the permits that you use for fishing. The vessel license is it's $60 for this size vessel. It's $60 for the fishtail. It basically just allows that vessel to participate in any commercial fishery in Alaska. But that does not mean that you can just get a vessel license and go halibut fishing or go salmon fishing or go jigging. You have to have the appropriate commercial entry commission fishery license for that particular fishery that you're engaged in. So if you guys want to take a real quick look, I know it's totally off subject.
It's okay.
It's kind of on
subject. It's always a little interesting. Lots of people are curious about this kind of thing too.
Yeah. If we just flip this open real quick, this is a certificate of documentation. This is issued by the United States Coast Guard. This is a documented vessel, so we have to have this on. Some of the endorsements on it are fishery, registry, and coastwide. So without the fishery endorsement, you cannot commercial fish this vessel. Just basically has a vessel name, official number, when the vessel was built, 1979 if you're interested. This is an FRP, which is fiberglass reinforced plastic, or fiberglass. Every once in a while we get a comment that we have a beautiful old wood boat, but we don't. It's a fiberglass boat. She was built in Woodinville, Washington by Musser. 40 gross ton, 30 net ton. Now the length says 43.7. This is waterline length. We're 48 overall. So, and this is renewed every year. I think it's 26 bucks to renew it. The other license is our vessel license receipt. So this is the one that we get from CFEC. This is Commercial Fisheries Entry Commission. These are the guys that basically regulate the permitting process for Alaska fisheries, Alaska commercial fisheries. And so every year you'll renew this vessel license receipt. Like I say, it's $60 for this size vessel. It's 60 bucks for the fishtail. I think under 30 32 or under 30 foot. Somewhere there's a break in there, and then I think they're like 24 bucks. And then also larger vessels over 58, I believe, are more expensive to license, but it's not a very big fee. Yeah, so this is our Alaska boat registration decal. So until a few years back, we didn't have to actually have our boat registered with Alaska if it was a documented vessel by the United States Coast Guard. They changed that a few years ago because they thought somehow by having this, they were able to track vessel owners better and thusly take care of vessels that are like run aground and abandoned or have major oil spills, that type of thing. It's pretty ridiculous, honestly, because there's no better paperwork trail to the owner of a boat than your certificate of documentation that's registered by, or that's issued by the Coast Guard. So I think it was just a way for, you know, the state to grab some extra money every year, although I don't think that it probably even pays for the cost of administering the program. But anyways, that's my little rant. It's just annoying to have to, it's one more piece of paper to have to worry about. Back to our receipt. Every year when we renew our vessel, we get a little sticker, and this goes on a triangle plate that's mounted on the outside of the hull on the cabin. These are our actual permits, so whichever fishery we're engaged in, we get a permit. It has the vessel name on there. It'll have the type of fishery that you're engaged in, and you can see these colors match. They color coordinate every year, so some years we'll have a blue one, some years it'll be a purple or a yellow or an orange, but these will always match. That makes it easy for enforcement just to see from afar if your vessel is registered for the right year. And then when you pull out your permit card, same thing. So whenever you decide to do whatever fishery, then you'll get your permit card for that fishery. Some fisheries like jigging are open access, which means that anybody can join. You don't need like any prior experience. You just have to have a vessel that's registered to fish.
You don't need a captain's license or anything either.
We don't need captain's licenses in Alaska, not for this size. If you're over 50 gross ton, then you do. Under, you don't. But you do need these to fish, and some are open access, which means that anybody can engage in that fishery. Some of our other fisheries are limited access, like our salmon fishery is a limited entry fishery, which means that you actually have to buy a permit from somebody. Kodiak permits were roughly $25,000 to $30,000. Once you purchase it, it's yours, unless you lose it for being naughty and violating rules or regulations in that fishery. And the only thing you need to do is actually just renew your permit every year, and that cost varies from like 75 bucks for jigging to several thousand depending on the fishery. And then of course, like halibut and sablefish, those are individual fishing quota where you actually have to purchase a quota. You're buying the rights to harvest that fish. One more thing about these too. So even though this says the fishtail on here, Matt could use this card on this vessel. You don't need to buy a permit. Like if you're going to jig on one boat, you can take this permit and jig it on another boat. You don't. It's not vessel specific. This is just to make it easy when they stamp your fish ticket. If he landed fish on this vessel, like cod or rockfish, they would just scratch out fishtail and they'd put in Emerald Isle, and they'd change the ADF and G number. So you don't have to buy one of these for every single boat that you're working on. And that just allows people to jump around and not incur extra costs.
So yeah, our buoys are done. Like I said, the launching table is done. Hook rack over here, got a couple of bars welded in, nice and free and clear of the deck. We raised them up a little bit on the fishtail. The rails are lower, so all the snaps are down in the gunk and gurry whenever we get fish on board. And back here, we don't really plan on having a bunch of fish back here. We'll mostly be contained in the bin there. In the event that they do end up back here, it'll be such a big deal. We'll put some straps.
Guarantee us some good hauls.
Yeah, right. Dad says that'll actually guarantee us some good hauls that will have overflow. We'll put some straps around these hooks so that when we're in a swell or rolling around, they're not slapping like that and being annoying. And we got our bin here, our fish bin. Did I show this? I don't know if I showed this. Anyway, made this up off camera. Just got a couple of our old pieces of channel and old pieces of wood, scrap wood that's been sitting at home for a while. Bolted the inside boards on the reel there. The spin should hold about 650 pounds, so a decent haul there if you get it. Got our bait table here, baiting table and cleaning table. We went off the side of the reel on this one. We looked on the front and it would like pretty much perfectly intrude upon the level wind space, so ended up putting it on the side, which is perfectly fine. There's plenty of room right there, and it's no issue to traverse that area. Probably won't be going back and forth when there's fish in the bin anyways, because yeah, it's just annoying to try and tromp through fish. So really the only reason I'll come back here is to grab a bundle of baited hooks, put them over on the table, or in the event we're pinning hooks, just grab the bundle and clip them back here, and I should be able to do that. Anyways, yeah, got this on the side here, got our legs bolted in, and it should be a pretty nice cleaning station. Just be able to grab the fish, plop them up here, get them clean. And over here, Dad's working on his steering and throttle station.
When you got me.
Yeah. A little puffy today. All right, everyone. Well, I know what you're all gonna say. Stop doing projects and go fishing already. But we have a few last projects to do here, and they're pretty important ones too.
What? We get to go fishing?
Soon, Dad, soon. Be patient. So, what we've got going on currently is this little wind wall over here in the hauling station. And it's important for a couple of reasons. One of them being this nice snazzy control box Dad constructed.
Yep.
Pretty nice, I'd say.
Have to be able to control the vessel out here when we're hauling gear. Otherwise you just end up tight lining your gear and breaking it off, and a lot of bad things happen. So so the control head is here, and Simrad FU80 follow-up jog stick. So this allows us to steer the vessel right here, and this allows us to engage it into gear and then also give it some throttle if we need to. This direction is forward, same as the fishtail. It's kind of a little bit more forward than aft, so I know that. And same with reverse here. So that's where these will be mounted. And then there's a watertight gland coming off the bottom right here that both the wires will go through. They'll go into this, which will just run right along the cabin and then go into a 90 into the cabin, comes out underneath the one of the drawers in there, and then from there it goes into the engine room up forward to where the computers for both units are. So this will be a really good setup. Like Matt said, a nice little wind wall here, get away out of the spray, get out of the the wind. Still 100% visibility because you're pretty much just leaning here anyways. And then if you see a blaster coming, you can just step back and let the spray pass you by. So that'll be really nice. This is all lining up really good. I got to cut a little bit, probably just a little like this, kind of like this, and then back down. And we'll put a nice, piece of flat bar on here.
Yeah.
And that'll be enough, just so it's not rubbing up against that.
And I just came out here. Just gonna start working on this, which is our aft hatch hold downs. So we have our actually old hold downs from the fishtail. 4 of them have been kicking around for many a year. We never got the chance to install them over there. So we're gonna utilize them over here. This is the old variation of them, and this is a new one. We had to extend them out because it will go in the corner like this, and the old one, the nut was in too far, so it's more like out here on this hatch. So these are pretty important. You don't want water to be able to down flood into your hold. It happens before you know it. Many a vessel have sunk because of a bad hatch, seal or otherwise.
Yep, you start getting water back here and you don't realize it, and then you have a slack tank, and next thing you know, it's creating a problem. And it's usually a combination of small problems compound into a big problem. And you know, sometimes you notice this stuff and sometimes you just don't, depending on the sea state and things like that. So it's really important that that you have good hatches, good watertight hatches.
Yeah, when it's like something that's like really gradual, you really don't pay attention to it until your boat's slumping over and
sometimes
feeling really sluggish. And
the type of thing that you've been in bad weather for a while, and you know, it creeps up on you. You're tired, it's the middle of the night, that type of things, and you don't realize that it's happening until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, so this kind of thing is definitely the top of the list.
Yep, we've already tested our hatch underneath here into our tankage compartment. Same thing with our lazarette, our Freeman watertight hatches. One of us got down in each one with a flashlight, and the other guy flooded it from the top deck and made sure that we didn't have any leaks going on there. Adjusted the dogs on them. They're good to go. Our removable manhole up forward obviously doesn't leak because we've flooded that tank 2 or 3 times now. It's good to go. These back ones still need to be fiddled with a bit, but they're okay to go fishing with.
Yeah, I'll probably actually hop down and grab that aft one and get it. Just needs siliconed around the bolt is all.
Right.
The actual gasket around the knife edge is done.
And then I guess we could flood this tank and test it. Take off the forward one up there, and then we can tank down a little bit, and then you can shine the flashlight up forward and see if any water's coming through.
Yeah.
Be good to get those done. And then we'll probably leave one of them off for a little while after we start putting a few hours on everything, so we can just get down there and we can check it with our thermometer and make sure the bearings are running cool, make sure the stuffing box is running cool, and then at that point we're good to go.
But yeah, the task at the moment is these brackets. Like I said, Dad modified them already, put this bigger plate on.
Yeah.
Pretty nice weld, I'd say. So I screwed those ones in, and we'll go ahead and screw these ones in now. So yeah, these plates here, correspond to these holes here. Once he welds the nut on it, drop in like that. It'll screw in. We'll have a washer up here, and that will compress the gasket, which is on the underside of that hatch right there. There's the gaskets I talked about. Got those glued in a while ago.
Yeah, so basically the corners will intersect here, and this comes through, and what we'll do is there'll be a washer and a nut right here on the underside. So there's room between this and the actual bracket that we can leave a nut and washer on there, and that way when we go to pick this up, it doesn't pull the bolt through.
And it actually comes out.
Yeah, and so it'll actually come up a little bit,
which is helpful.
We'll figure something out, some kind of clip or something at some point, but for now it'll probably just be a piece of line that you pass through there and tie a quick bowline on and go for it. And then to keep these watertight right here, I guess a rubber stopper off a watertight gland.
That one's the big one.
Yeah, that's the big one, but kind of give you the idea here. So we'll just bevel the fiberglass a little bit, and so this will be up on top. We'll have a washer on here, and then this piece, and so as it's tightened in, it'll compress it into the tapered hole in the fiberglass, and that'll crush in there. It'll seal tight around the shaft, and then also into the fiberglass, so we won't get any water leaking through these holes. It wouldn't be a whole lot, but it will leak, and it will add up, and it'll be annoying.
If we have bait back there, we want to keep it dry down there.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at. We'll get these holes marked, and then we can take the hatch back off and get our brackets back home to weld some nuts onto.
Got our Coast Guard safety exam done the other day, and passed with flying colors.
Yeah.
We got a nice little sticker that we put on the side, and yeah, I managed to put a big huge wrinkle in it.
You gotta show the shame, Dad.
Yeah, you can see it better from the inside. Yeah, so no deficiencies, so that was super nice. We really took our time. We went through the checklist. They give you a good checklist to go through. They check everything like your fire extinguishers. They'll check your paperwork, make sure that your documentation is all correct, that you're licensed to fish. They'll check your survival suits, make sure that they're not too old, make sure that there's no rips or tears, you know, the zipper's intact.
Check the integrity of the glue on creased areas like underarms and between fingers and between the legs.
Make sure that that your strobe light is working, that the batteries have been changed regularly. They'll also check things for like missing guards on moving equipment, machinery, like your engine. Anything that has a chain or a belt on it, they want a guard in place so you don't fall in there and get a finger caught in there. Get a piece of loose clothing caught in there, you'll get sucked right in. Things like that are important. What else do they do?
They checked our nav lights, anchor and fishing light.
Yep, they check all your lights.
We have a stern light on this boat.
They'll check things like make sure you have a sound producing device, so if it's foggy out, you can alert other vessels around you. Your life raft, your EPIRB, all of that stuff has to be repacked annually.
Yep, flare kit.
And all of this makes us legal to fish out to 20 miles, so we can fish outside 3 miles if we want. So they just go through kind of everything like that, make sure you're in compliance with everything, and if all goes well, then you get your decal, you put it on your window, you're good for 2 years before we have to have another exam done. And if there's any major deficiencies, they won't issue you your decal. They'll make you fix things, they'll come back and re-inspect. If it's just little things that, like maybe, hey, you know, you might want to think about this or that, they'll put it in a note here, which they did. The biggest one was a red flashing light in the engine room, just because it's a noisy space down there. If the general alarm goes off, then you might not hear it down there, so there's a red strobe down there that helps alert you if you're in that space that there's something going wrong, you know,
and you need to get out, and
you need to get out of there. Yeah. So for whatever reason. So yeah, that all went real smooth, and that was a good thing to get checked off the list. So we're legal to fish right now, and that's a good feeling.
Yeah. They also checked all these stickers on the wall here.
Yeah, they wanted you to have your placards up for like for your garbage and discharge of oil prohibited, notice for injuries, general alarm. We need a waste management plan on here, which is just pretty basically just saying that you're gonna, you know, keep all your garbage on board and you're gonna dispose of it in the appropriate receptacle when you come to a port or a tender. Donning instructions for immersion suit. This is really important. It's a good thing to practice. You want to be comfortable, that type of thing. It's, you know, you build that muscle memory and the confidence that when you need to put it on quickly, that you're doing it correctly. That's good stuff to have, to know. They did check our alarm, make sure that our bilge alarm is working. We have some different heat sensors on this boat in the engine room. Actually, this is our alarm panel right here, and it's like really lame and cheesy. This had an old aqua alarm on it, and the actual panel for it, the lights were just junk and had fallen apart and garbage. So this is just kind of like a temporary one to pass our Coast Guard exam, but it's hooked up to a very large, a very loud alarm, and so it's just right here. So this will be on and basically armed when we're fishing, and then if we flip this for the general alarm, that's just to get everybody's attention and say, hey, you know, stop whatever you're doing, muster at your designated point, and then, you know, we face whatever kind of emergency that we have. And so it's loud. It'll go off if the bilge, there's a float in the bilge. If that gets high water, that'll go off. Same thing with the fire sensor. So good thing to have. I'm actually making a new panel, and this is kind of the mock-up for it. We're going to expand on this and add a few things. So we're going to have our engine room high water alarm, but we also want one in our shaft alley. We want one in the lazarette. We want one in our tankage compartment. Right now, all of these basically drain into the engine room. There really is no lag time, so if our lazarette is leaking, we're going to know in about 15 seconds in the engine room, because it's a straight shot in there and it is lower than these other areas. And so, but at some point these will become independent watertight compartments, and then we will be required to have alarms there. So we're going to build this panel with basically being able to expand it in the future. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the fire alarm. We want to add some other ones here. Engine alarm, we'll put a low oil and a high temp sensors on there that are hooked to this. That way, maybe you're out on deck and pulling gear and you dump your oil, you're not going to know it, right, unless you've got an alarm. A lot of engines will have a shutdown for low oil. This one doesn't have it because it's a lot older. I suppose we could rig one up, but if it's on the alarm, at least you're going to know. Same thing with high temp. If you start overheating for some reason, this alarm will go off and alert you to that. And so I need to get this made up. We're going to put some better lights in here than these ones, and yeah, it'll just be a nice little panel to have.
So we got our life ring out here. Nice vinyl sticker showing our boat name and hailing port. Tied into this tagline, also named. You pretty much leave this tail on the hook and pull your life ring off and fling it out, and it will automatically draw this, provided it's coiled in correctly. Or really, you should probably just tug a bunch of lengths out, because then there's no resistance to your throw. Anyways, there's the old exam sticker. And over here is the new exam sticker. Documented vessel, cold waters operation, you can go outside the boundary line, that's the 3 mile, out to 20 nautical miles, good to 2026, September. And if we move on up the bow here, this is the way we usually climb up to the top house. This is the way we usually climb up to the top of the cabin here. But we do have a ladder too that we'll keep on board. So here we've got our life raft. It's a 6-person life raft. See, it's due to be serviced November 2024. So a couple months left on it. We'll have to bring it in and have serviced. And that usually runs $700-ish. And you have to have that done every year. Unless it's a brand new raft, and then it's good for 2 years. And over here we've got a pelican hook connected to a hydrostatic release. And what this does is that, say the boat goes down and you don't have time to deploy your raft, this will sink down to a certain depth before this hydrostatic cuts this little line right here. It just has a super sharp blade that is spring loaded, and water pressure pushes on this, slices that line. The raft floats up because it releases that hook there, essentially. Line floats up, remains attached to the frame here with this tag line, and that will tug on this line, which goes inside, connects to the air tank valve or whatever it is, and that will inflate your life raft. And after a very short time, I imagine, the pressure on this tag line connecting to the frame here will break. This is a breakaway piece of plastic, so that'll break free, releasing your life raft from the vessel. And in the event that you do have time to deploy it, you simply loose that pelican hook, throw that off, throw your life raft in the water, and just give a good tug on this painter line here, and then it'll inflate and you'll climb in or whatever. Speaking of safety, here goes the Coast Guard chopper. And aside from that, we got an Ep.114 here. It's basically a satellite signaling device. So this also has a hydrostatic release, so if you don't get up here in time, it'll break off and deploy. I think it has a spring mechanism too that pushes it out of this little clip right here. So that goes off as soon as it hits the water, I think. I'd have to double check on it. Make sure you clip this in good. Hold on, guys. So the Ep.114 sends a signal that the boat it is attached to is in distress. Basically they're registered, and it just basically has all your boat information, your hull color, your numbers, and identifying features of your boat, and they'll send a signal to the Coast Guard, and they'll dispatch to its location, and yeah, find you that way, and hopefully you get picked up. Alright guys, so we just recorded a segment without the mics on. That's pretty normal for us, but anyways, just on the last parts of a project here, didn't really record much of it, if any of it really. Got an actuator right here that is to engage our PTO, or hydraulics. That's the lever there. And this is the bracket for it. Just has a couple of pins on the unit itself. One goes onto this half, the other goes into that little fork there. And then this part bolts into the engine. And when you give it power, it'll retract that arm right here. That's to disengage the hydraulics. And when you reverse it, it'll engage the hydraulics. So pretty nice little thing. Save us a lot of time coming up and down the steps. So we'll get that connected and show you how it works. Just got a couple bolts here that thread right into the engine block. Yo. Okay. Want to give that a try, Dad?
Yeah.
When you're ready. Nice. Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, it has more wiggle.
You look good. Yeah, I just wanted to have a little pivot there.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Fire up.
Sure. Sign off. Easy.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Check that one off the list. So that'll make it pretty nice for Dad or me, so we don't have to come up and down that forecastle ladder right there during a height of jigging or pot or crab, anything that really don't want to be running around with your hydraulics on all the time. So that'll save a lot of trips up and down.
Yeah. I mean, it does get tiring going up and down, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
When we were in the yard, there was a lot of ladders climbing up onto the boat, and then we were doing a ton of work in the engine room, so it was constantly back and forth all day long. That's pretty much how it would be.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal, honestly.
So, I think that's probably already been, I've been up and down the steps probably 10 times today already.
Yeah.
So
That'll save a lot of energy. So
I mean, it's good exercise, but still.
Focus that energy on fishing.
Yeah, let's go fishing.
Yeah.
Let's go catch some herring.
I'm ready.
Boy, I feel like we're like really ready.
Mm-hmm. Just gotta tidy up around here, really.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
of
things
course,
are messy, but
there's project stuff everywhere still. But
Yeah.
that's the simple part. I mean, that's a few hours of cleanup, and
It's not that bad. A lot of stuff has been packed off already, and this mess on the table is just kind of like our projects the last 2 days. So we're ready to tidy that up now and probably get rid of a lot of this extra junk. Like, I don't think we've used this expanding foam in like 8 months now. Got some Gorilla Glue there in case we need to glue anything together. Just got a few things to do. We need to hook up this ballast for our sodium and at least have one sodium hooked up.
Good morning, everyone. Well, the main is fired up, generator's fired up. Got something big in store.
I'm fired up.
We're fired up.
Are you fired up?
We're fired up. So, stay tuned for something exciting.